Hi, so we have Module 3, Lesson 9. We're working on adding fractions, but first we have to make like units. So we have to make our units the same. Units meaning the denominators. So problem number 1 says, first make like units and then add. So our first problem is 3/4 plus 1/7. So what's going to tell us if they have like units is the denominators. So 4 and 7, those are not the same digits, so those are not like units yet. But we can use multiplication to make them like units, to make them the same size pieces, or the same amount, out of the same amount of pieces. So we can do that by multiplying by the opposite denominator. So for 3/4, the opposite denominator of fourths is the sevenths. So we're going to times it by 7. But what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Times it by 7. Okay, so then for 1/7, we need to multiply sevenths by the opposite denominator, which is fourths. So we have 7 times 4 and 1 times 4. So now that we have figured out how we're going to make like units, now we can solve it. So now step 2 is to make our like units. So 3 times 7 is 21 over 4 times 7 is 28. 21/28 is our first equivalent fraction, plus 1 times 4 is 4. 7 times 4 is 28. 21/28 plus 4/28. Now we have made like units. Now we can add. So the denominator is just telling us that out of this, how many pieces, it is the size of the piece, sort of a thing. We're not adding denominators. We're only adding the amount of pieces. So that's the numerators. So 21 pieces plus 4 pieces equals 25 pieces. And they are all 28ths. So 25/28. That is your first answer for problem 1A. So now problem 1B, same steps. So first one, step 1 is to find what you're going to multiply by. So you need to multiply to make like units. So you can multiply by the opposite denominator times 8. And what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top times 8. So now we have 9/8. So we have times 4. And what you do to the bottom, you can do to the top times 4. And then step 2, multiply them till you get your equivalent fractions. So 1 times 8 is 8. 4 times 8 is 32. 8/32 plus 9 times 4 is 36. 8 times 4 is 32. Now we have like units. Now we can add. So 8 pieces plus 36 pieces equals 44. I had to double check my counting. So 44 over 32. So now here we have more than a whole because we have more than 32 pieces. You can still leave it like this. You will not lose any points if you do not make it into a mixed number. So you can just leave it like that. Okay, so now we have problem C, 3/8 plus 3/7. So now here we're thinking, well, we have like units. We have 3 and 3. Those are the same. But it's saying that there's 3 pieces and another 3 pieces. It's not saying they're all 8s or they're both 7ths, because our denominators are different. It doesn't matter if the numerators are the same. What matters is our denominators, okay? So we would have 8 times 7. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. And then we have 7 times 8. And what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. And then we find our equivalent fractions. So now let's multiply. So 3 times 7. 8 times 7. Plus, because that's our operation right here, we're adding 3 times 8, 7 times 8. Now they have like units. Now we can add. 45 56. Okay, so now these next three I'm going to leave up to you to do on your own. Okay, so same steps. Multiply your denominators by the opposite one. Oops. And what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Make your equivalent fractions and then add them together to get your answer. Okay, same steps over here. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Same steps over here. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. And over here, what you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Okay, and then find your equivalent fractions, which means multiply them, and then add them together to get your final answer. Oops. That looks funny. There we go. Okay, so last three steps are for you to solve. I've done part of it for you. I have done 3 with you, so you should get these all correct, and these all correct, okay? Okay, awesome job.